I thought I'd follow up with the, if you can hear shotgun noises, it's because we're surrounded by orchards, including our one. There's kiwi fruit nearby, and it's a bird scarer, so there's not a gunfight nearby. The M3 control arms that I put on this car, really good. It turned into a little bit of a saga because when I put them on, they came with the tension arms, the M3 tension arms, which were supposed to push the wheel back closer to its original caster spec or position, and they didn't. The wheel sat very far forward, and aesthetically it looked a bit odd, and also it was on lock, rubbing on the arch liner. So to counter that, I ended up buying the Whiteline adjustable caster bushings, which we actually inserted back into my original tension arms. But to do that, we kept the spacers which came with the M3 tension arms that aren't on the car. So it would be a bit of a mucky way of doing it. Probably the best way, if you're doing it, just get the M3 control arms, get probably the Powerflex caster bushings with a eccentric centre, and you turn that around max to push your wheel as far back as you can, and you still, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you've had a different experience, but you'll still have your wheel sitting a little bit further forward, a little bit more caster, but it's actually quite nice. It gives you a firmer, slightly heavier steering feel. The M3 control arms definitely improve the mid-cornering feel and handling, really quite amazingly actually. I've got different wheels on now. I've got my 19s on, which have been quite a long, drawn out job, several stabs at painting them, and I finally got it out. Lots involved in that story. I might do another video about that. But so with a slightly lower profile tyre and the M3 control arms and my my XYZ adjustable coilovers set at the right damping and ride height now, really good. I've still got 10mm spacers on the back and no spacers on the front. You can see front on the camber, negative camber. So now we're about -2 degrees on the front, and I think I've got about a degree or something like that of toe out, not toe in. So that's another thing that you have to bear in mind. It's not terrible, but your steering rack, your can't remember the name, the tie rods, sorry, mind blank, your tie rod ends, there's just enough thread. Well, there is sort of plenty of thread on there, but you're getting toward the end of available thread on your tie rod ends, because it throws your toe out so much when you put these M3 control arms on. And that is the other thing, is that you need to make sure that when you put them on, you need to get them somewhere where your wheels are pointing forward, because it really throws them out. And then you need to get to an alignment centre straight away. And you need to go to an alignment centre that can think outside the square a little bit. It's no use going to one that just looks at their computer and can't figure out what's going on because you've made modifications. So I'll put a picture up of my wheel alignment spec now, which I got done locally, and the guy did a really good job. If you're in the Tauranga area, I went to Carter's Tyres in Te Puke, and yeah, those guys really seem to know what they're doing. They've been involved in motorsports, and I could just tell when I was talking to them, and this is why it's important to have a conversation, so you can sort of gauge whether they understand where you're coming from or not, and I could tell with those guys that they got it. So yeah, got there in the end. So anyway, I'm going to go for a little drive and maybe talk some more about how it feels with this modification. So something you notice straight away with the M3 control arms is the responsiveness of the steering. It's very crisp, requires very little effort, and does exactly what you think it's going to do. So the positives with doing M3 control arms on an F3X, or mine's an F31, much more responsive steering, follows corners around completely effortlessly. It feels a little bit heavier in the steering, which is quite a nice thing, because you can lose a little bit of that with electric steering or electric assist. Looks good, sort of gives you a slightly better stance at the front of your car. Gives you, obviously, the thing that you're trying to achieve is negative camber, which I could have probably done in different ways. I've got adjustable top mounts on my coilovers, which I could have added quite a lot of camber that way, and I'm not quite sure how different that would feel, whether that's a different kind of camber coming from a different perspective. Not too sure, but this is definitely a good mod. The negatives are you need to figure out how you're going to regain the normal caster on your wheels to get them to sit further back, because the M3 control arms push them forward quite a lot. Pardon me. The other thing I did when I put my 19-inch on is I looked at the tyre size, and I just I kept the front tyres at a size that it just kept the overall diameter a few millimetres less, I think about 8 millimetres, something like that, less diameter than my overall diameter of my 18s. So it just gave me a little bit more arch clearance, if you like, which in the end, with putting the adjustable bushings in the thrust arms, I probably didn't need to do. So next set of tyres, I'll just stick with the standard overall diameter, so it will match the original, and it will give me a slightly meatier tyre too, which I prefer. So yeah, there's a little bit of playing around with that, and there's no definitive answer to get the setup that you need. So I would start with the M3 control arms. You might need to have an arrangement with your alignment shop, because you'll probably be back and forth a little bit, and get yourself some Powerflex adjustable bushings for your original thrust arms. So M3 lower control arms, Powerflex bushings for your adjustable Powerflex bushings for your original thrust arms, and then see where you go from there. You might be happy with how it looks and how it feels. Another thing, which is something that might annoy you, it might not, but everything I've done with the front suspension, or all of the suspension on this car, so that's including the coilovers at the rear, but particularly the front, is I've created more road noise. So basically every time I've done something, it's created a louder road noise. So harder bushings, I guess, have increased that. Coilovers have got harder top mounts, so transfers through more road noise. 19-inch wheels with a lower profile tyre, more road noise. So there's always a trade-off. If you're looking for a little bit more performance or a little bit more handling, you tend to sacrifice a little bit of comfort. Yeah, so the M3 control arms with the firmer bushings probably will give you a little bit more road noise, I'm assuming. It's a bit hard for me to tell, because I've done incremental changes with the suspension, so I can't really compare it to how it was originally to how it is now, because it's been gradual. And when I first bought the car, it had done 130,000 kilometres, and it's now done 165, so I've done a fair distance in it, but the shocks or the dampers were pretty worn out, so that's why I chose to put coilovers on, because it meant that I could get the car sitting at the height that I wanted and solve the problem of worn out shocks at the same time. So yeah, just bear that in mind, that whenever you do performance upgrades, there could be a little bit of a sacrifice. Ooh, that's a good question. How much did this cost to do the M3 control arms? Well, I don't know in the end, because I bought things I didn't really need. On that subject, don't bother buying. I've got by Xenon headlights, and they tell you, or you hear, that you need to buy the height adjustment, the headlight sensor links. You don't. You just use your original ones, and you can pop the mount off your old control arms and reuse that. Look into it just to make sure what's right for you, but don't go spending on something like that if you don't have to. So I'm in New Zealand, and in New Zealand dollars, I got somebody to fit them for me. You could do that yourself. You'll have to try and get your alignment as close as you can, and get yourself as close as you can to an alignment centre. So you don't want to drive too far to an alignment centre once you put the control arms on. So if you're going to pay somebody to do it for you, and to buy the control arms, and to buy the adjustable caster bushings, and maybe allow for 1 or 2 wheel alignments, you might get it first pop, you probably want to allow between 800 and 1,000 New Zealand dollars, which I think in British pounds at the moment is probably about 500 quid. You can translate that to your currency, and it'll probably be different for you, because whatever we buy in New Zealand, we're paying for shipping to get stuff here, which is not as bad as what it used to be, but it's still a cost, an expense on everything you do. So yeah, if you're in New Zealand, you might be able to spend as little as say $600 or $700 with parts and alignment. So yeah, allow anywhere between 700 to 1,000 New Zealand dollars for this modification. You have to really make sure it's something worthwhile for you. I enjoy driving on a lot of our rural roads, which is kind of what I'm kind of going to be doing today. I'm actually heading toward a dam. I've got a thing for dams, and you'll see it soon, the Ohakuri Dam, and I'll do a little bit more videoing there, get some atmospheric videos, shots and photos and stuff. So yeah, I enjoy my drives. I enjoy just cruising on open road and having a setup that enables you to do that with your alignment, so you don't want anything too aggressive. I got them to give me a little bit of toe out, I think about 1 degree. I'll check that. Like I say, you'll see the alignment sheet on screen, and you can have a look. But you don't want like 0 toe or anything too aggressive, because you want to enjoy your car when you're just on a cruise, and you don't want a fidgety, nervous car that's going to turn you into a fidgety, nervous driver, if you know what I mean. So they couldn't put negative toe on it, I assume, because there wouldn't have been enough thread on the tie rods. So if you want to play around with more negative toe, then you'll want to look at your tie rods. It's possible that you could put F80 Tie rods on, M3 tie rod ends, I'm not too sure, but I've opted to go for some positive toe, and that keeps the car going in a nice straight line. So there's a bit more information. Driving on an average New Zealand road, we use really rough top on our road, so you get a lot of road noise. But when you hit the smooth, there's no road noise at all. It's definitely relative to the surface that you're driving on as to how much road noise you're getting. It's not just the car generating that noise, it's the surface that you're on. The other thing worth mentioning is I talked about sort of the drivability of the car in different situations. So when you're just cruising, it's quite comfortable, quite relaxed. But when you're cornering, it's sort of quite lively, quite playful, and it definitely follows the, it doesn't tramline, but it definitely follows the undulations in the road a lot more with -2 degrees of camber than if you only had like a stock. I think stock is about -0.5, something like that. It's not much. But with the M3 control arms and that extra camber, it definitely follows the undulations in the road quite a lot more. So when you do hit those undulations, and there's plenty of them on our roads, you do sort of have to be a little bit more on the ball. But that's, once again, that's that trade-off between having a little bit more performance and having comfort where you don't even have to think about driving or steering. It becomes more driver-centric, which when you think about BMWs, that's what their focus has always been on anyway. Here we have the Ohakuri Dam. Ooh, can't go that way. So this is the Ohakuri Dam, which is a hydroelectric power station, one of many in New Zealand, and I reckon it's a really cool spot. Every now and then they'll open this up and relieve the lake level, but what a great spot to park. Sorry, I've got my engine running, but you'll be able to see the clearance here is very, very minimal, almost touching the arch liner. So you can see, hopefully, in there at the end of the tension struts, you can just see the bushings, and they are the adjustable caster bushings, which I'll insert an image of. They're the Whiteline ones, but bear in mind that they are for F80 M3 in the original arms, and they do have aluminium, or I think they're aluminium spacers. Hey, well, thanks for persevering if you managed to watch this and the first two parts of my M3 control arm videos. Well done. Hopefully it's shed a little bit of light on how you go about putting M3 control arms on your F30 series BMW, and answered a few questions. Meantime, have a little look at this place. This is Ohakuri Hydroelectric Power Station. I love this sort of thing. I don't know why. I think it's because they're usually set in absolutely stunning locations on rivers in New Zealand, and then you've just got this brute concrete structure which is just becomes part of the landscape. This is a particularly cool one. I'd love to have a proper look around here. If you work here, or if you have contacts and you could get me a tour around here, I would really appreciate it. Something about these places that just spin my wheels. We'll walk around and have a look before I go anyway. I think I'll be fine parked over here. I'll just turn my lights off, and because I'm paranoid, I'll lock my car. Let's go for a little wander. So the other cool thing about this particular dam is that you drive across it, which is not super unusual, but it's cool nonetheless. A little bit of water flowing out over there. I'd love to be here when the gates open. It's just kind of chance when that happens, I think. I better take a photo. This is a nice little bonus if you manage to make it to the end of this video. So, car parked way over there, and I'll leave you there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if it's helped you make a decision about putting M3 control arms on your car, or if it's made you change your mind about it, maybe that you've decided that it's not for you now, and hopefully it sheds some light on M3 control arms on, in my case, an F31. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.